live. Welcome to episode number 1 of The Bright Side. I'm your host, Howie Craw, with co-host Dr. JC Dornick. JC, it's awesome and a pleasure to have you here.
You know, I'm realizing I always wear a hat, but the way I have it tilted right now makes me feel a little Frankie Blue Eyes, just a little bit.
Frankie Blue Eyes. You know, I think this country needs a little bit more of Frankie Blue Eyes music right now.
You got that right.
Talking about the bright side. So, let's just give the audience a little history on our relationship.
Yeah.
We met in the early days of the pandemic. My sister Shelly made the introduction 5 years ago in passing. And through Facebook, we stayed connected without any connection. And during the pandemic, I found you, and then we developed a friendship. And what's amazing during this time that we're in, you really spend your time in the bright side. And I know you're writing a book, and I know that's a chapter in the book, and I know it's something that you talk about. So thank you for lending that name and that idea to what we're going to turn into an ongoing series of conversations here. It's unscripted, it's unfiltered, and it's typical of our conversations. And during this time that we're in, there is a lot of stress, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of depression, and I hear there's suicide rates going through the roof. And that's because everybody's living in the dark side, and it's dark. And so here we are, you and I and a lot of people that we work with are choosing to spend our time in the bright side. How did this all come about? And why don't you put a little bit of your JCism on it?
JCism. I'm gonna drag in it. Well, first of all, it's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you. And I love the idea of just recording some of them. And obviously, whatever you and I talk, people benefit from it, and we get positive feedback. I've always been just curious. There's a specific part of your brain. It's called the substantia nigra. Funny name, right? And there's many places in the brain where curiosity is born, but it's primarily found in the substantia nigra. What a funny word. It's funny to hear somebody, a Jewish person, say that too. They go, substantia nigra, right?
I'm not even going to try and say it.
So, but I've always been fascinated with life and curiosity and things like that. So I've just brought up, just like most people, I think I went through the first phase of my life where I was annoyed with people, like, the annoying positive person, the person that just seems like they're always in a good mood. And when you're in a bad mood and you see the person that's in a good mood, you want to sock them, right? But I was smart enough to recognize that the reason why I wanted to sock them is because they have what I wanted. So I just became fascinated with it, and obviously I go deep into it. But as you know, one of my favorite sayings is only on a healthy body rests a healthy mind. So one of the things that was standing in my way for so many years is that I just wasn't really in love with who I saw in the mirror. And it wasn't just who I was as a person. I was 80 pounds overweight. I was a victim of my life, my circumstances. So I found this amazing program that you coach, that we both coach. So that was the beginning. It was only on a healthy body rests a healthy mind. So that's the first thing I want to say is before you can even come up with a novel idea that you can actually run with, you have to be conscious and gain the ability to look at it from all sides. So I became fascinated with the idea of people that always saw the bright side of things. Now, the next thing I remember, I was a big Pink Floyd fan.
Right.
I always noticed how we only talk about the dark side of the moon. I never heard anyone say, "I'll see you on the bright side of the moon," right? I never heard anybody say that. So I realized also that we've been trained to see the dark side. we're victims of circumstance, and it's never our fault. Hey, not me, justification, blame, shame, all that stuff. So that, I guess, that frustrated me, and I just went on a quest a long time ago to see if it was authentic. These people that were always in a good mood, was it authentic, or were they just using some sort of personal growth technique to always be in a positive mood? So I can tell you now, and this is, we'll have some fun on this show, but I have gone through a metamorphosis and come out on the other side as a different creature called the dragon, as you know. But the dragon can see the bright side in everything. I've learned so many valuable lessons from Buddhism, Stoicism, the science of flow, just all these amazing, amazing lessons out there that have just armed me with the ability to look at life differently and delineate what matters, what doesn't, what's in our control and what doesn't, or what is not. So we're here to share it.
We spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
You always bring out that people are constantly freaking out over things they can't control.
Right.
So in this environment that we're in, so much is going on that is absolutely out of our control, maybe now more than ever, but it was always that way. What tips can you give people? Now, I know that you've been at this 14 years and helped tens of thousands of people, myself being one of them. And so it's easier said than done when I just say, hey, what are you getting upset about? It's out of your control. And I know we use a simple analogy like the TV. Yeah. If you choose to watch all that's on the news every day, you're going to live below the line. It's hard to get out of your own way. So actionable tidbits as we go along in our conversations. I heard you say things that are out of our control. How can you take control of the things that are out of your control, and what are some helpful hints?
Well, something really big just happened. I just got a notification that our Whole Foods order is on its way right now. So
no way. Really?
That's very exciting. One quick tip that's not even relevant right now is Chicken and I, my love and my counterpart, we started to order our groceries online, and we noticed that when we're not subjected to the smells and views and programming that we have when we're amongst food, we always make smarter choices. Side note. So yeah, there's definitely some skills, and we're not going to talk about them all here, because we're going to be able to pick apart, from having that model morning. I practice something called the Rise Up Great Day Morning, and I know you do your HowieDoinIt in the morning. So, setting your day up right and things like that. But I think what we can pick right now, because I think seeing the bright side, I think people understand what it means, but they just struggle to execute it. So it begins. Here's the first tip, because most people go around knowing things. Like, I could teach you a strategy right now, but you'll only succeed at that strategy if it's relevant to what actually matters most to you. So the first thing you have to do before you start using strategies to pick apart and see the bright side is you have to first decide what actually matters to you. You know what I mean? Because you and I have conversations all the time. I feel so bad for Howie and anyone that's my friend that comes and files a complaint with me. They're screwed when they do that, right? That must be the most frustrating thing in the world. But what I'm doing in those situations is I'm helping somebody identify, does that actually matter? Like, what you're talking about right now, does that actually matter or no? So that's the first step, is you got to step back, and you can't do this. You can't bring yesterday into this conversation, and you can't bring the fear of tomorrow. You have to just stop right now from the basic standpoint. What actually matters? People will typically say things like family, right? My health, my religion, things like that. So once you start from that standpoint, at least you're conscious about what actually matters, so that when these other things come in that we have a tendency to get all hot about, like politics and things like that, we forget how irrelevant they are in comparison to what actually matters. So that's the first step. And then there's God. I don't know which one we want to choose for today. I thought today would be a good day to actually just bring the topic up and arise or create a space where we can actually have people be interested in the idea of choosing to see the bright side. And the only thing I would say on that is when I used to leave things up to chance and I was in a reactionary model where I would react to things, I was reacting to them based on how I was programmed by my mother, father, teacher, and preacher. So I came from a place of lack. I was taught, hey, don't outshine other people. I was taught, keep your mouth shut. So I had all these concepts about me. So of course I would react to adversity the way I was taught to react. But I just made a decision that I just wasn't enjoying life like that. So, maybe what I can do is I can offer to you right now the opportunity to discuss what is it that actually matters to you. So leave yesterday behind, forget about tomorrow. In this space right now, Howie Craw, what actually matters? Give me the top 4 things in your life that actually matter.
Well, I think that, priority is health and well-being. That matters. It's really important to be present and not.
Is that number 1?
Number 1 would probably be family.
See, now we're talking.
Right. My children.
Isn't it interesting? You picked health, right? But if your kids were in danger, would you die for them?
100%.
So health doesn't matter first. They matter first. So that's the way you do it. And here's a fun exercise. If anybody that watches this were to write down, like let's say you give yourself 10 minutes and just write down the top 10 most important things. You only get 10, right? So you just write down the top 10 things. But then we go through another exercise where I make you try to organize them from most important to least important. Then all of a sudden you'll see that one of your top 10 most important things is the least of the 10. So I can start asking you, like, just quickly rattle off the 4 and I'll take you through the exercise.
Kids, health, family, happiness.
Well, kids and family are the same.
Right.
So family, health, happiness.
Finances.
Okay, finances, and that's a big one, right?
Yep.
Especially when you're looking at a stack. You're either looking at a stack of bills or dollar bills in life, right? Both are perception. By the way, here's a funny thing about that, because we were talking about this the other day. If you're the person in life that's looking at a stack of bills that you have to pay, right? Versus looking at a stack of money that you have in an abundance, both of those exist at the same time in different realities, but we always focus on one of them, and that's why we get screwy. But if you look at those 4 things right there, so you said family, you said health, you said money, and what was the other one?
Did I say happiness?
And happiness. So if you were to organize those, would you get rid of your health for your family?
Yes.
You'd get rid of your happiness for your family. I mean, that's what we do when we have babies, right?
I was pretty happy having mine, but go ahead.
So family is pretty important. Now, sometimes you'll hear people say God is more important. That's an interesting thing, Well, people will say God comes first and then family. So who knows? Everybody's different and everybody's fine. Seeing the bright side, by the way, also means being open and okay with whatever anybody else thinks. You only have to focus on what you think. But once you have that delineation of what really matters to the point where you can recognize that family is all that really matters, it gives you the ability to look at things like money. Let's say money comes in and we're seeing the dark side because we're in a poverty state and we're seeing that we have a lot of bills and things like that. In that moment now, if I came in at that moment and I go, but Howie, you got your family. You'll go, yeah. But you're not recognizing that you got your family. You know it, but you're taking it for granted. You're still focused on the money, right? So that's an important thing. But what I think what we're really talking about though is the extraneous things that are not even on the top 10. If money ends up number 4 on your list, it's going to be hard to just ignore that you got money problems. But what I'm talking about are looking at things that you're getting upset about, perhaps, and unable to see the bright side, that have nothing to do with your money. Like, for instance, somebody will look at a problem with finances. They'll see a stack of bills, and all they'll see is, I'm screwed. I'm screwed, right? And somebody else will come in right now and say something that'll really bother you, but you forget that it's because you think that you're screwed, right? So then you get into this drama triangle where you're just caught up in this whole thing. But what I'm talking about is identifying the things that are coming in and saying what's in my control and what's not, but also, does it actually matter? Right? So we can get all twisted up when we're seeing the dark side of things. So I know what it's like to see the dark side. I spent most of my life seeing the dark side. I know what it's like. And it's much, much more fun to see the bright side. And as you know, it's a choice and it's a perception. Remember, what you see is just a perception.
I agree with you more.
You get to choose.
Perception.
What's that?
It's a perception.
Yeah.
Such a mental perception, perceived, and you know, the glass is half full, the glass is half empty. The dark side or the bright side. My cup is overfloweth, right? It's running over. There's water spilling everywhere, or it's half empty. Yeah. And so it's very similar. So I think what we're going to try and do in this series that we're going to develop is really consciously look at how to spend more and more time in that bright side and having that glass overflowing and prioritizing what's important. I see there's a whole bunch of comments as we're talking about family. Everybody jumped on that one, and we couldn't agree more. We're all in agreement, right? That family is the most important. And
John brings up a great point. So I love when people challenge and they give different scenarios, right? So he says there, he goes, if you give up your health, right, for your family, you have no family because you're dead. Interesting concept. So all we were saying there, and by the way, that's a little bit dark, right? But on the bright side, if you had to choose, right? Now, I don't want to give up my health, because he makes a point. If I give up my health, I'm no good for my family, right? And if I quit on myself and I die and I leave this planet, then I have no family. That's what he's saying. What I was saying before, John, is just the idea of if I had to choose one or the other, understanding my priorities. But, you know, it really is just a fundamental decision. You know, I did a talk called Dear Mr. Fantasy. We talked about it on your podcast last time.
Right.
And what I talk about is the fact that whether you choose to see this or that, it's really just a choice and it's a perception. Because while I'm seeing the bright side of something, the dark side still exists. You don't erase the dark side. Negative doesn't go away. Adversity doesn't go away when you choose to see the bright side of things. But what you're doing in that stance is you're not ignoring. I'm not ignorant to the fact that darkness exists. I know what's on the TV, right? I know if I turn it on, I know what it is and I'm aware of it. But I'm choosing to see the bright side. So the real question is why would you choose to see the bright side? What is the value of seeing the bright side? See, the person that struggles to see the bright side of things, the reason why they struggle is they can't let go of the dark side. I was talking to somebody, and nobody's going to get out of me my political views, no matter how hard you try. And if anybody wants to know what Dragon's political views are, my answer is always the same as you. Whatever you like, I like. But I was talking to somebody the other day that was really, really caught up in all the political agenda. right? And I was asking this person, and it's on Facebook and all this stuff, they're just projecting. And I asked them, I go, why is it so important? This is a great topic. Why is it so important for you to project your opinion? And he brought up an interesting point. He says, well, I was brought up that you shouldn't just stand by and watch as it goes by. But what I'm noticing is that he was defending his stance, and what he couldn't see is that it was destroying his day. He was in a bad mood, and everybody around him Howie, that mattered most, was affected by it. But he was defending his stance because of the way he was programmed, right? So he was a little bit like people like that. They say, you don't watch the news. You should watch the news, right? And I said,
you should.
I should, right? So all of a sudden I'm getting should on, right? So I said to him,
that's another subject that we're going to have. Stop shooting on yourself. That'll be another episode.
I get should on every day. So, but the bright side of getting should on is that I realize how wonderful it is to not get should on. But what I said to him, I said, why should I, right? Because I'll never argue with people. I say, that's interesting. Why should I watch the news? And what he said was, you should watch the news so you know what's going on, what's really going on. And I said to him, I said, well, I'm going to should you back. You should stop watching the news so you can see what's really going on. And it was interesting because it gave us the ability for him to, for the first time, acknowledge that while he was doing this, the things that mattered most were suffering. Right? So it's an easy concept, but the practice of it is difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, I see that Stacy made a comment here. Old programming from generational curses are a killer and need to be healed. And that was something that you just said, I forget your words, that we carry on and take with us. So reprogramming.
Look what Jamie says there. He says, happiness is getting a hat like Dr. JC for each member of my family. I'll tell you, you want to know the God's honest truth about the hat? I love wearing these hats, Jamie, but 9 out of 10 times it's because my hair is messy.
Yeah, mine too.
I'm just gonna let it out.
I decided to go hatless today, JC.
Yeah. But John brings it up right there. And this is what it's really about. He says, perspective is reality. You are the only one that can control your thoughts. And John, there's nothing more close to the truth than that right there. But choosing to see the bright side of something, choosing to see the bright side doesn't mean ignoring the dark side and just pretending that something that you see that is really messed up, say, oh, but there's a flower over there why this man killed somebody on TV. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you can look at anything in life, and Howie, I know you're passionate about this, and this is one of the things. By the way, side note, all these things we're talking about, when people make a decision to get healthy in life, and it could start off with saying, I want to lose weight or I want to improve my nutrition, this is the stuff they really need to do because who you are determines how well what you do works. Diets don't work because the person that goes on the diet is not the right person for the job to go all the way. So these topics that we're talking about, we speak to with our clients.
All the time.
But seeing the bright side is not always like choosing to see the upside. It could just be choosing to look at any scenario in life and delineate, is this happening to me or is it happening for me? And as soon as you make a decision to look and see how this is happening for you, you become a detective and you become curious with your substantia nigra, and you start to identify what the lesson is. What's the lesson, right? Now, we were talking about money, like we said before. So let's say you're looking at a stack of bills and you're freaked out about money. Very, very common. That's why we love to coach people and teach them how to make money. But if you're looking at that, you're in this cycle, right? You're a victim of it and you can't see any way out. And anytime somebody says, Yeah, but you could still do this. They'll always go back and say, yeah, but the bills, the stacks, you don't understand. My situation's different than everybody in the whole planet. I can't do nothing, right? And I'm just thinking, how's that working out for you? So seeing the bright side is saying, looking at that stack of bills and say, why am I so upset about that? What's the lesson right here? I mean, of course, I don't like not having control over my finances, but why is it upsetting me so much? And then maybe you'll identify it's because you feel like a failure, or who knows what it is, but you go into a forward moving, solution focused manner. Seeing the dark side, you just get darker and darker and darker and darker.
Forward motion. It works in every aspect of what we talk about all day. And like you said, if it's weight, a diet, health, you got to make moves every day to move. It's football, right? Forward motion gets you to the end zone. The Jets have been going in reverse now for decades. They don't have the Jets. It's a New York football team.
Is that a football team?
0-4 already, buddy. They're so bad. But no, season after season, nothing changes. It's the same old, same old. So, you know, what's interesting in listening to you is you've given a lot of thought to the bright side. It isn't like you got the sun and it's bright over there and it's dark over there because there's a cloud. It's a way to see things. And I think, is it happening to you or for you? And we talk about that we learn so much through adversity, hardship, when things aren't going right. That's where the lessons are, and that's what's learned. So learning to find the bright side in any situation takes some practice.
Give me an example. Watch this. What is like the worst possible thing that could happen?
Death.
Death, right?
Right.
So, I mean, this is a tough one, right? And you have to, by the way, side note, you have to be very careful when you're a personal growth speaking type person. When somebody is in the dark side, it is not your place to tell them how to get out of it. That's not what this is about. This is just about the opportunity to view life through a different lens. Most people are looking at the future through the lens of the past, and the past has taught you that everything sucks, right? So look at death. Look at that awful, awful death. How could you find the bright side of death? Now, what I can't do is say, oh, death is a wonderful thing. Thank God for death, right? That's not what I'm saying, because that's a little bit on the ignorant side. But how could you find the bright side of death? Well, I can tell you one thing. When I have experienced loss of loved ones, do you know what happened to me in that moment? In that moment, I recognize how much I love that person. More than ever.
Memories, holding on.
Then you start to look at, and by the way, what about legacy, right? Legacy is not created until someone goes away, right? So it's just about making that fundamental choice to just say, I'm gonna make a decision to find the lesson. I'm gonna make a decision to find the bright side of things. And the reason why I'm gonna do that is because I'm on borrowed time here right now. You know, we recently lost a very, very, very special person in our life. Her husband was taken from us like that, out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So we know that we're all on borrowed time, and that's called the mortality mentality. You don't know how much time you have. So in this short amount of time, do you want to be messed up or do you want to be blessed up, right? It's a choice. So anytime I wake up in the morning, I'm in a state of gratitude for everything. When I meet a mean person that comes up and says, by the way, I don't know about that guy, John, but I think your hat is stupid. And I'll just say, you know, man, I appreciate John so much right now for telling me that he likes my hat. There's always a bright side.
Yeah, and I think what you said, I had a long talk today about legacy, a long talk, that so much time is spent in the here and now and chasing and whatever. It's like, what's important? Do you want, you know, do you want to be blessed up, or what mark do you want to leave, or what do you want to teach? And I think it's so important. And Yeah, this is an interesting topic because it's really a mindset to look at things in a way that many of us don't do, or something that you also just said when you said that is that it's a practice. It's a mindset to totally, because you could get shooted and shitted on all the time. And we'll get a question from Gail here.
Yeah, this is a big one. Gail, great question, and I'm happy to see that you're here. So let's say that you make a decision to be the bright side person. So Dragon is always seeing the bright side. So first and foremost, when you choose the high road, everybody that's on the low road hates you because you're highlighting what they're not doing. When you make a decision to be happy, people that are unhappy can't stand you because all you do is let them know that they're unhappy. So you got to be really careful. When you experience what it's like to live in the dark on any light, and then experience what it's like to come into the light, all you want to do is help everybody out of the dark, right? So you want to see a dark side, try to be a bright side person and invite a dark side person to see the bright side, right? Now, the reason why you would want to do that, as Gail said, help your family, is because we all have this tendency, and it's another below the line drama triangle character that we play, is the role of the hero. When you experience something that you love that works for you, you want to go and save other people. By the way, converse to that. Let's say I'm on the dark side and I'm totally enveloped in the presidential election or the coronavirus or whatever, and I'm like taking a stance for the mask and getting involved in all this stuff, right? By the way, in no way, shape, or form was I giving my opinion there. I'm also going to try to convert bright side people to the dark side, just like Star Wars, right? You're either a believer in the Force or the dark side, and the dark side tries to bring the Force over, and the Force tries to bring you over the dark side. It doesn't work. So, Gail, the only thing you can do is with consistency. And now Gail's on your program, right? And she's on her way to the bright side. So, Gail, what I can tell you is that action speaks louder than words, right? People are watching all the time. And what happens is the people that are caught up in the herd, they're all going this way. We'll call that the dark side. When they see someone veer off and go a different way, the first thing they do is they go, what the hell is Gail doing? Stupid. What is Gail doing? What? She'll be back in a moment, right? That's what they're doing. They're hoping and praying, and they need you to get back and stop seeing the bright side because you're highlighting that they see the dark side. So then the next thing they do, because you don't stop, so you're not trying to convert them, you just say, I'm going, no matter what. Then they say, the next phase is they go, is she still doing that? Is she still, here comes bright side Gail, who always sees the bright side. She's still acting like that. And then the next phase is they go, she's still doing it. And look at her. Look at her life. Look at her skin color. Look at how she looks like she's smiling. She's driving a new car now, on vacation and all that stuff. And then the last phase is they go, hey, tell me about this bright side thing. So
What are you doing?
How do you convert other people? You lead from the front. And you don't say, nah, look at me, I'm happy, you're sad. You just lead from the front and take care of what matters most, and that's you. You try to convert other people. The dark side is strong. And the dark side, remember, when you were in the dark side, everybody, you love a good fight. When you're on the bright side, you don't look for fights. When you're on the dark side, if somebody touches you the wrong way, look out, right? So do not try to convert the dark side. It gets darker. Just go lead from the front. They're all watching, and believe me, we're all seekers of the earth. Every human being wants to be happier, wealthier, and healthier. Every single one. Show me one person that'll say, I want to be fat. I want to be broke, and I want to be unhappy. It doesn't exist. So you go and you lead by example, they'll all come. They'll all come. Once they see that it works, they'll all come.
I could tell you that since we met in April and we're doing this coaching together and we're changing so many lives, leading by example really does work, because talk is cheap.
Yeah.
People have heard this, that, and the other thing. But when you just mind your business, put the work in, and do it for you,
Right.
others will follow, because they are stuck over there. And, there's a lot of company over there. There's a lot of company on that dark side. It's sold out. It's standing room only. It's like a 7th game of the World Series. It's crowded over there. You want to walk in and talk about those 3 things that you just mentioned: masks, politics, and coronavirus, which we don't do, and it's crowded in there. You have no problem. But if you want to go to the bright side and talk about, values, health, the Ers. I love the Ers. Happier, healthier, wealthier, right? If you want to go over there, not as many people are ready to have those conversations.
That might be a Dragon original right there, by the way.
Ers?
The Ers.
It's funny. I put that up on LinkedIn recently, and some marketing or whatever guy goes, "Oh, I wrote a book on the Ers," or something. I don't know if it was a book, but yeah, he probably got it from listening to Ride Up with Dragon. Now, a lot of people don't realize this, that you have a podcast. It's on iTunes, Spotify, and all the other places, and it's great. I mean, that's how we really connected. That my message that I do on the How We Doing It podcast and the daily live videos, and during the pandemic, you were doing a daily live podcast.
Yeah.
So now you do it. It's just not daily.
It's about that, and that's, anytime you guys see somebody doing something every day that is, and the perception is that they're trying to help other people, also recognize that that's the structure they're using to help themselves. So I've always been an advocate of, anytime I go out, like if I start doing if I go full out on our program, because I want to get in the best shape of my life, and I'm going to start reading books and all that stuff, I'll set up a challenge. Like right now we have 700 people on a challenge, and it's closed. Next one will be in January, but I'll always pay it forward. So whenever you meet somebody that is always seeing the bright side and maybe preaching about it through a podcast or something like that, and that's what my podcast is about. It's just about picking things apart and looking at them in a different way so that they can actually benefit you, or you can cut them free. So that's why am I doing that every day? It's not for you, it's for me. It's all for me. I'm going to tell you something right now. Being selfish, that's not a bad word. We're all value-seeking missiles. You, me, everybody. We don't think, say, or do anything that doesn't provide us with value. So when I'm out there helping other people, what do I get out of that?
You're helping yourself.
But you know what? I like helping people. It makes me feel good. So call me selfish.
We've had that conversation, and you asked me early on, why am I, and nobody ever really asked me that, why am I doing How We Doing It every day? And, I gave you.
You're selfish.
But you know what? It creates a great morning routine, which you and I have talked about.
We should do an episode on that. We should do an episode on structure, setting up your structure, and that's win the morning, win the day,
Win the morning is a big one, because like you said, you set it up and you have that routine. It leads to great things during the day. And what I love is by 8, 9 o'clock, I've done so much already, and there's a whole world of people that are up too. Mm-hmm. And so structure will be a great conversation for us, because I think with structure comes the bright side. That's right. I think when I first thought about this word, I was just really thinking about the sun and the brightness of it. And it's so much deeper, because for everything, there's the dark and the bright. And we're going to look into it, and we're going to go deep on it. And I know the way that you and I riff, we'll come up with really great conversations.
I love it. I don't
know how long we wanted to keep this.
No, this is good. This is good. Why don't you, we'll each share maybe like a tip that somebody can do to take action with this right now. So what would you say to somebody that, that you practice just quickly, that will help them start making a motion to, see the bright side of things?
What's your why? Figure out what you really want and why. And once you could identify that, it's what we've been doing in our challenge this week,
Mhm.
you have a better chance of going after something that you want rather than just ruminating and thinking about what you want. Keep putting it off. Put it on paper. A goal is nothing without writing it down. It's a dream. So your why, if you just, yeah, I'm doing it, write it down. Figure it out and then make a decision and reach out to somebody in your network that's doing what you want to do or is involved in what you want to do, whether it's, exercise, weight, mental health, whatever it is, reach out and work with somebody because doing it alone is hard.
Yeah, and I'll just offer a fun word that Chicken and I use. We very often refer to certain people as cartoons. So if you ever hear us refer to somebody as a cartoon, we're calling the person a cartoon because it's our way of saying that they don't exist. They're just a cartoon. Now, it doesn't mean that we're discounting that they're human beings. We're just very, very good at delineating um, whose opinion matters, right? So when we interact with people, and this is a nice exercise for you, is start looking at the people in your life that are giving you crap, or giving you agita, or you're stressed out or something, or you go to bed at night and you're thinking about this person, whatever, those people. Just ask yourself, do they really matter? Do they serve where you want to go? So if you know what you want and why, like Howie said, you can always ask, is this person facilitating this? Are they helping me move the ball down the field or not? Are they involved in paying my bills? Are they serving the greater good? And you'll always be able to see no, right? And as soon as you recognize that they actually don't matter, we call them cartoons. It helps us communicate with one another. Then you realize that the only reason you're mad at them, it's internal. It's an inside job. You're not mad at them. They don't forgive them, for they know not what they do, right? You're mad at them because you're mad at yourself, and then you can start to heal right there. That's a wonderful, wonderful tactic. I do a talk and I write about this idea of being a bouncer. The club that you're standing out front of, the club represents your life and the things that matter most, and you get to check IDs and decide who comes in and who doesn't. And every now and then you got to run in the bar and kick somebody out.
I think a lot of people let people in that need to get bounced out.
Very hard to get on in my club. Very hard to get in my club.
I'm sure over the years,
on the list.
I'm sure over the years, JC, you've had some less than desirable people come and hang around your club.
I've had fire hazards
to throw them out.
In the clubs of the past. I had the fire marshal show up. He says, you can't have this many people in. But now there's a select group. It's a very VIP club, and everybody and everything in my club is in full support of this dream that I've set forth with the people that matter most.
It's a nice way to end it, and I'm proud to be a VIP member of your club, whether you know it or not.
Awesome. Well, great talking with you, man. I'm looking forward to the next episode.
Me too. Jamie asked for a book recommendation after Gail's question. How can we help our family and friends be more positive? And then Jamie asked if you had a book recommendation.
Well, you can't, so what you'd want to do is you'd want to read something that, I read about a book a week. You'd want to read something that helps you discover your what and your why. You'd want to read something that helps you manage your emotions a little bit better. I'm reading a book right now that is, I think it's like #2 best-selling book by a good friend of mine. I'm actually going to meet with him on Friday. Jim Quick. This book, Limitless. This is a great book. This book shows you what you're actually capable of. in this wet piece of meat that you have in your brain. You know, he's a brain coach, this guy. So that's a great book. Or read a book about understanding people a little bit more. You know, one of the things that I really love to do is recognize that I don't think anybody means me any harm. You know, if somebody comes at me with something, or somebody is like just below the line, not taking responsibility for their life, and like Dale said, I just really, really understand that they're unconscious. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. And it's not my job to let them know that they're unconscious. So, you know, all I do is I just focus on my own personal growth. And like I said, I lead from the front, and I'm the book. I let them read my book, my life story as I'm going forward. And hopefully one day they'll recognize that looks a lot more fun than what I'm doing.
Yeah, I got a bunch of books here, and a book that you recommended to me early on that I refer to a lot is this one, Jim Detmer.
Yeah.
And this is just all about conscious leadership, but
that's a great tough one for someone to read if they're not a big reader, though.
No, I didn't think it was bad. Living above the line and below the line, and I thought it was great. So we'll come out and we'll do this again. What do you think? Every 2 weeks, Dragon?
Whenever. Well, let's let the people decide. If whoever.
Well, the people have already voted. The vote is in. They're just counting them, and they're
that's a vote.
The right way to count them. What?
That's a vote that I'm excited to be part of. Yeah. So I think 2 weeks sounds good. And then if anybody has any questions or anything, I think this is streaming live on your Facebook page. They can just reach out and message you.
Yeah, if you want to talk to either one of us at any time, we're both available. Appreciate everybody being here. Look forward to building this brand with you. And any feedback would be greatly appreciated. And we'll handle it on either side, the bright or the dark. But hopefully there's a lot more brightness than darkness.
Awesome. Good time.
I'll see you at your club tonight. I'll be in. All right? Take care. Amber, thank you too. Appreciate all your help in putting this together. Thanks to everybody for being here. Appreciate it.